Were you here ever when it was just sheer chaos?
Sure. In November of '04, this was Stalingrad at that time. It was major fighting. The worst month for casualties in Iraq, I believe, was the month we liberated Fallujah. Very tough.
When you were talking to me earlier, you got pretty emotional about it.
Well, you know, if you've been at this for a while and you think of the great soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine who have died along the way to make this type of progress possible, and the Iraqi security forces who have died as well, and the Iraqi civilians who have died.
A lot of them.
A lot of them. It's been just a tragic several years for them. And to see it transformed, I think, is pretty special. We'd love to repeat this, you know, throughout Iraq, needless to say.
Do you think it can be replicated? Because this is a very unique situation.
Yeah, I mean, what can be replicated is local people helping to secure local areas. Now, it gets much more difficult when you come up against a Shia fault line, if you will, a Sunni Shia fault line, or in some cases, Arab-Kurd fault lines. And there people have to work together, and that's where it's important in Diyala province, which has an equal mix, really, of Sunni and Shia, and even some Kurds in it in the north, that the tribes have gotten together there again as well. The tribes have turned out to be very important in this endeavor.
It still has a long way to go with basic services, though, doesn't it?
No question about it. There's been enormous damage done to the infrastructure by Al-Qaeda, by fighting, by neglect.
By the US?
Sure. I mean, we bombed this place in some cases. We shot tank rounds in here. We did enormous damage. Al-Qaeda did far worse, I can assure you.
Isn't that critical, General Petraeus, to get 100% support by the Iraqi people to give them the things they need to live? Electricity, running water.
Yeah. That's
fuel.
The new battle, actually. And what happens is we talk about in counterinsurgency that soldiers, Marines, they have a rifle in one hand and a wrench in the other. They're ready when they go out of their compound each day, they're ready for a handshake or a hand grenade, and they can deal with either. But if they get a handshake, they'll return it, and they'll try to build on it and create a relationship. The Marines have a saying, what you're saying about no better friend, no worse enemy. And that's a pretty good approach in this kind of environment.
General Petraeus, in 2004, this place was a hellhole. This is where all those contractors were killed and burned and put up on that bridge, right?
Yes, it is.
Why was there so much anger? Why was this place seething so much?
Well, I think it was still the initial sense of having been ejected from a position of power and influence, yes.
Because Saddam was a Sunni and Sunnis felt disenfranchised.
That's right, yeah. And there was still no coming to grips whatsoever with what is, frankly, a reduced role, to put it mildly, in the running of Iraq. It was compounded by some other factors during that time as well, and certainly we made some mistakes along the way also.
What were the biggest mistakes made?
Well, if you go to my 5 pages of Senate testimony, you can find those, but we're focusing to the future now.
Come on, just give me a quick thumbnail sketch. All right, I'll look it up.
We took the rear view mirror off.
Okay, so tell me about this market.
Well, this market is again just wonderful to see, because it's the most important statement of revival, if you will, of an economy coming back to life. It won't happen if there's not security, and it won't happen if there's not some money to be spent. So all of those are obviously positive developments. But you can see you can get about anything you want in here.
General Petraeus, not to sound negative, but some people might be watching this and saying, oh, this is a nice dog and pony show. Yeah, there are some areas of calm. But if you look at the country as a whole, it's still a nightmare.
Well, if you look at the country as a whole, there is an unacceptable level of violence. But that level of violence, the number of ethno-sectarian deaths, you name it, the number of incidents for
Sunni,
Shia
killings, Shia, Sunni.
has been reduced dramatically. That's not to say that there are not places where it is very, very tough. It's not to say there aren't neighborhoods in Baghdad that are certainly still very, very tough. We'll fly over some of them on the way back. The question is, which way is it headed? And I think it's headed up. Again, this market wouldn't have been here a few months ago.